Hello, and welcome to, I guess we'll call this the 39th episode of the Queen Bee Book Club podcast, rather than a bonus episode, right?
Was last week 38 or 39?
It was 38.
Okay, then yeah, 39.
So this is 30. Okay. Welcome to the 39th episode of the Queen Bee Book Club podcast. I'm Audrey.
And I'm Cher.
And we are your Queen Bees. Well, it's only been a few days since we last recorded.
Like 2 days.
Yeah.
But you know what? When going to the movies is all we have to do, we can do it the next day.
Yeah. Well, I did have to wait. So I am a Movie Pass user. I've been hanging on through all of the turbulence. Now you have been limited, right? Yeah, so it's been kind of a crazy summer for Movie Pass. It's like, so for those of you who don't know what Movie Pass is, I would imagine most of you do. But basically, like, the idea of it was that you pay $9 a month and you were supposed to be able to see, when I signed up, it was, you can see a movie a day for $9 a month, which I was like, okay.
Oh, so you could not do a double feature?
No.
Okay.
Which, like, at the time was the only restriction. Like, you could only see one movie per day.
Which, and you couldn't see, who does that anymore anyway?
Right, and you could not see 3D movies or IMAX movies with the Movie Pass.
Who cares? I hate that 3D.
Well, and so in this area, like, even if you only saw one movie a month, that was still worth it because, like, usually a movie is about, like, $12 or $14. So it was like,
I think it is, like, closer to 14.
Yeah, I mean, most theaters that I go to end up being closer to 14. And so, yeah, so it was, so it was like, even if you only saw one movie, and especially during Oscar season, I tend to see like quite a few movies in a short amount of time. So,
right.
It was a nice thing. So I signed up probably in like February, but like since then, they've had all these issues, like particularly with all the blockbusters that have come out, like Avengers and like Black Panther and stuff. People, like, at first, like, you were allowed to see a movie as many times as you wanted. You just couldn't see it more than once in one day. So I think what was happening, I personally saw Black Panther twice using Movie Pass. And so first they took that away.
So you're part of the problem.
I was. Even though I was only really going to see, like, maybe, like, at most, like, 3 movies in a month, probably.
But that's a lot. I mean, that's like, I mean, I always knew that Movie Pass, like, they were buying information about people, right? Like, that was the thing.
Yeah, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, and, like, my understanding of it from what I'd heard was that they were kind of betting on the information they're collecting to end up being very valuable. And I think that, like, they just grew faster than they expected is what happened.
I think you're probably right. But I also think
and their type of user might have changed. Sustainable.
Well, definitely possible to. It was never going to be sustainable. I mean, I think anybody who got Movie Pass knew that this was a matter of time they just had to use the hell out of this thing.
I think when they started it, I think most of the users were probably a lot of indie moviegoers, and that was kind of their imagining was that a lot of people, like, you know, they'll spend money to go and see the Avengers or something. Like, a lot of families will do that. But they won't, because movies are so expensive, they won't necessarily go out and spend money to see, like, 8th Grade. They might say, like, I'll wait for that.
Which everyone should.
Right. So they were thinking, I think a lot of times, like, about, like, that more indie moviegoer. And then maybe they grew into having more blockbuster users, because then they started limiting the show times that were available, or they tried like surge price. It's just been like a whole thing. But their latest thing is they haven't upped the price, but like they limit the number of movies that you can choose from per day. And you're limited now to 3 movies per month, which I'm still like, again, like if I only see one movie a month, it's worth it.
How much do you pay again?
$9 or about $10 a month.
Okay, yeah, that's, I mean, definitely worth it.
It's fine. Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then, I mean, like, the limiting of the, like, blockbusters doesn't really bug me, but I did have to, like, we had to kind of plan when Crazy Rich Asians was going to be available. for us. Got it. Because luckily it is doing very well. So it's like really a positive that I wasn't able to just go and see it. I had to wait until it was one of the MoviePass movies that day.
Speaking of movies, I just wanted to bring up a indie movie corner.
Oh.
Have you seen RBG yet?
No, but I heard it's amazing. And also I did see a preview when I went to see Crazy Rich Asians for, have we talked about that they're making a movie about the famous Ruth Bader Ginsburg case where she argues for sex discrimination they're making a movie about that.
Is it about the paternity? Right?
It's the one, it's about the case that you sent me that podcast about.
Oh, the beer case?
Yeah. The one that she argued in front of the Supreme Court.
Really? Wow. I'm surprised.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, because I know that in the preview it shows her saying, like, this is about sex discrimination against a man.
Yeah, it could also be this paternity rights case she did, which I bet is the one that it is.
Is that also about childcare and, like, assuming that it's female?
Yeah.
Then it's that one, because they say that in the preview. But Armie Hammer is playing her husband.
Her husband, I just got chills.
He seems like a gem.
Thinking about him. He is an absolute gem.
Seems like a gem.
He's a gem in the documentary, too. I mean, he's the best. But yeah, I know that case, basically the background is this guy, his wife dies, and when she dies, he now is the primary caregiver of his child, but he isn't eligible for her social security benefits.
Oh.
That's what that case is about.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I recommend it to everyone. I watched it with both my parents.
The documentary,
my dad,
you mean?
The documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably will recommend the other one as well.
I do really want to see it. I need to go up to the
that's not out yet, is it?
RBG?
No. The one with Armie Hammer.
The one with Armie Hammer is coming out Christmas. So it's like
oh my god, it's competing with Ted Bundy.
It's an awards movie, my friends.
For my Christmas movie.
It is angling to get Felicity Jones an Oscar. That's what that movie is for.
I hope she gets it.
She was amazing in Star Wars Rogue One she was in, and then she's also in The Theory of Everything. She plays Stephen Hawking's wife, and she's
Saw
great.
Neither.
Yeah.
Which will not surprise you. My dad sobbed through the entirety of RBG.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, he loved it. So, yeah. Did I already talk about this? I feel like maybe I talked about this 2 days ago.
Yeah, I think you did mention the anecdote of your dad crying through it. So, like, shout out to Mr. Patient. But I know we talked about that, but I actually don't know if that was on the podcast.
I never know. Whatever. It's worth repeating.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so you went to, what theater did you see Crazy Rich Asians at?
My usual theater is the Regal Theater in Rockville.
Okay. So we sampled our neighborhood theater, the West Newton Cinema, which we can walk to.
What a dream.
Yeah. It's like a little dirty, I will say. Like, it's like, like, I definitely will probably exclusively see movies there from now on, but most of that has to do with proximity.
Yeah.
And it's $12, but they only accept cash.
Okay.
So
that's like, a little different.
Maybe might be run by the mob. Don't know. But I mean, in Boston, like, there are a few places that only accept cash, and I'm like, okay, like, we know you're not just avoiding those credit card fees.
Yeah.
Although the movie theater also accepts checks, so that's always an option. So
yep, get those checks right out.
Yes. But yeah, so it was an interesting experience. Like, I'm pretty sure they have 2 theaters total, and the theater, like, really hardly slopes at all.
Oh.
So, but it definitely does slope, because during the movie, a person, like, we sat pretty far towards the back. A person behind us, like, must have been a bucket of Skittles, which rolled down the entirety of the theater. So, like, we could hear them, like, forever, like, all the way to the front. Yeah, literally. But it went on for so long. And I'm like, you must have just not even picked up your bucket to, like, stop them. You just, like, let it drain.
You were like, whatever. I didn't. Yeah. It's for the best. Yeah. Well, we sat opposite. So, I mean, like, I was surprised. I mean, I guess it's still kind of, like, summertime attitude. Because the theater was packed.
So was ours.
Especially for a Tuesday evening. I was like, what's going on?
Ours was a Monday night.
Yeah, we sat very close to the front and we're like, you know, surrounded by people, which again, great. I'm glad that the movie's doing very well. That's amazing. But also, I would have liked to sit a little further back, personally.
Yeah, I felt like we sat maybe a little too far back.
My younger brother, he thinks movies are very loud. And so he loves to sit, like, back row. And I'm like, no.
My vision isn't very good. And so I'm sort of like, I can't really see. But, I don't know. This theater also had a smaller screen than I'm traditionally used to. So
I like, in a typical stadium seating theater, I kind of like to be like one, like, you know, there's usually that front area that's like, you don't particularly want to sit there because it's a little close. That's where we were. And then there's like the back, like the area that's a little further back.
Yeah.
That's usually there's like a partition and then there's like the more like elevated or like lofted or whatever seating.
So you're like the first 3 rows.
Yes. I like to be like a row back from that very first row in the like back area. So okay. I like to be in like row like 5. So it's like you're still kind of close and you get that feeling of like, oh, look at the big screen and whatnot. But it's like you're not craning your neck up.
Got it.
But yeah, we were close, but it wasn't like we were so close that it was like, I can't do this.
You're not like breaking your neck.
It's like the close where you're like, this is close, but I will get used to it and be fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
So.
Well, I loved this movie.
Oh my God, me too. I mean, not that, you know, I am a white woman, so it's not as if they don't make movies for me in general, but it like, we left the theater and I was like, oh, they're just making movies for me again. Like mainly like, like the rom-com lives. Like I'm so happy. I'm so glad that they have set up this movie for like a Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason style sequel. And by that, I mean like, it doesn't need a sequel, but like, there can be one and it can still be like very fun and very good. Because they've definitely like, did you stay like through the credits a little bit?
No, we left immediately.
Okay, so we started to leave, but then we noticed there's like, I mean, I don't know why I'm jumping all the way to the credits, but there is like a slight hint, like they cut back to the party from the credits, and you see Astrid making eye contact with a man who I would assume is the
Harry. Yeah.
Harry, right? Or I was like, it's either Harry or Henry.
I think Harry.
I think it's Harry. With who I assume is that character. Because they didn't have him.
He wasn't in it.
He wasn't in it. So how do you want to do you want to talk about like differences or like what? I mean, like I definitely am not one of those people who's like, oh, you know, like the classic, like literary, like the book was better. Or
see,
like
I think I thought I enjoyed the movie overall more than I enjoyed the book.
There were things that I missed from the book.
Yeah,
but I think they complement each other very nicely.
Yeah.
Like almost how like Call Me by Your Name, there are things that you miss if you don't read the book, but I think they're good on their own.
Yeah, I mean, we felt differently about Call Me by Your Name. Like, I felt like the book was so far superior that the movie was a disappointment to me.
But I also, the Call Me by Your Name movie, I think ends the way that I wanted the book to end.
Well, that's also how I felt about Crazy Rich Asians.
Agreed. But I also, so what I think they did that was smart is that they ended the movie Because they don't, like, so much of getting a sequel is dependent on
They're going to get a sequel.
They are now. But so much of it is dependent on how does the movie do commercially. Like, you're not going to make a sequel on a movie that bombs or a movie that gets terrible reviews unless, like, it's, I don't know, unless you're, like, a Disney movie that's, like, a franchise and you just don't give a shit and you're going to do it anyway. But, like, a movie like this, like, very dependent on commercial success. So they ended the movie in a way that, like, it could be like, this is the movie and, like, isn't that great? But it also sets it up again for, like, that Bridget Jones style sequel. Like, there are like pieces that you can pick up again.
But I also felt, I mean, that the whole story and, like, the book itself, like, it's fun. Like, and I left the theater feeling like that was really fun. Whereas in the book, like, you're left feeling like, I'm feeling pretty unsettled.
Yeah.
Better buy the next one. Which, you know, I understand that. But just in terms of, like, an experience.
Definitely.
It was very fulfilling in that way.
Yeah. And I was also glad to see that, like, basically everything that we talked about feeling like the movie would fix about, like, little qualms that we had about the book.
Yeah.
The movie did fix. Like, the whole, like, since it's visual, you don't need to go through all the describing of places. You can just be like, holy shit, there's water going down the aisle at this wedding. I kind of wanted, during that wedding, during Colin's wedding, when she came down the aisle, I kind of wanted the water to part when she came down. Like, she was, like, parting the sea, like Moses or something. I was also concerned that their dresses were getting very wet, but they all changed after, so it didn't really seem to matter anyway.
Yeah, Brendan leaned over to me at that moment. He's like, wow, we really missed the boat on this. I just walked down on carpet, but, and we weren't even allowed to scout our pedals, so.
Yeah. No, not allowed.
No.
Yeah, and then I also thought they did a good job of just for the sheer fact that Henry Golding and Constance Wu are so beautiful.
Man, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I want them to be together. I get it. I get their whole deal. And, like, just, like, you can have them smiling at each other and being sweet. And so I thought that their relationship, like, I was behind it a lot more than I felt in the books because it was like I saw them together.
I felt it a lot more in the movie than I did in the book, which I think I kind of mentioned. I was like, I'm not that invested in their
that's how I felt.
story.
Well, and also because, like, the Bachelor-Bachelorette section is so long and it's so broken up by other people's chapters that you really don't in the book get a ton of them functioning together as a couple.
Right. Well, and we also
I think they gave you more.
Totally. And I also think I was glad that they made Rachel, like, pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think Rachel was funny in the book, really.
No. I think Constance Wu is a treasure in this movie.
She's
in
great.
General. There were just subtle things. Like, there's a scene where it's after the Bachelor-Bachelorette party. And she, I thought, very refreshingly, is immediately telling Nick about what happened. Because she's like, just immediately,
and in the book, she's like, no, I'm stoic and strong. I need to do this by myself.
She kind of immediately is like, I'm upset you didn't tell me about this kind of stuff. You let me walk into this stuff unknown. Also, these girls put a dead fish in my bed. But she's, like, doing funny. Her body language in that scene is very funny and she's, like, making faces in a way that I thought was very enjoyable because it's almost like you can see that Rachel is very uncomfortable having to have these conversations. Like, she understands that it feels stupid, but she's also like, this is like, I liked that body language of, like, and you also saw they were comfortable with each other in that way.
I also felt like I could get a lot more behind their relationship in this also because I felt like Nick gave her some preparation before they arrived.
Yeah.
Because, like, he did basically reveal that his family was rich. And he did reveal, like, a little bit of details about various of his, like, members of his family Which, like, I'm not saying he gave her enough, but he gave her a hell of a lot more than he gave in the book.
Well, and I also think, like, it never made sense to me in the book that Rachel wouldn't get into first class and be like, what's going on? Because he kind of waves her off and he's like, oh, yeah, like, I wanted to treat us or something. And she's like, I mean, okay. But in this, she kind of pushes it more in a way that I found more believable. And then he kind of, like, she's like, okay, that's what a rich person would say, that we're comfortable. Give me the more.
Right. Well, and I think Nick's behavior to me was more similar to, like, somebody who knows their family's quirks, but, like, kind of won't admit them to the significant other, even though you both are on the exact same page. They're like, hey, your mom actually really hates me. And he's like, she's just hard to get to know. But, like, really, he's just making an excuse for her. But it's not like he's saying, like, no, she loved you. You know, like, he's not, I don't feel like he's gaslighting her.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, I sort of feel like he threw her to the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I felt like he had made a huge mistake. Whereas in this, I'm like, I'm rooting for Nick and Rachel, and I feel like the family is the villain, not Nick is, like, the enabler of the villain.
Yeah. Well, and also you have a lot of, I don't know, like, empathy, I guess, for Nick's situation of, like, you see, like, he does love his family. He's been away for a long time, and so he also kind of, like, I think it comes through that maybe, like, part of his defending them is feeling guilty that he didn't come back kind of because he met Rachel. And Rachel's like, okay, like, I didn't know that, though.
Well, that was also not in the book, right?
I don't think so. I don't think that there was, like, a big expectation. There was the seed planted that he was going to inherit everything, but it wasn't that he was supposed to take over the family company, I don't think.
Well, and there wasn't an idea that, like, he had, like, he was supposed to come and then didn't come and then threw everyone into a spin, which is, like, how the movie's set up.
Yeah. Well, I think there was, like, a general expectation he was going to move back. And I think, like, his Ahma, I guess. I don't know. I put, like,
you made it
like a Hebrew spin on
that.
Not right.
Ahma.
His Ahma. She was kind of like, when are you moving back here? But like in a way that, like, grandmothers do. But so I think like there's like a general expectation, as there tends to be in, like, big families, that, like, everyone's gonna kind of eventually move home and live nearby. But it wasn't, like you said, like, literally this year he's supposed to come back and do it.
Right. Which I thought was honestly helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That addition, I thought. Like, I thought it made it...
Well, it also gave their relationship a big sense of stakes, too. Where it was like he actively chose her over his family.
Right.
Speaking of his family, I loved that his mother, they fashioned her, and she is played in, like, the Miranda Priestly style. Yeah. Of, like, you are amazing, but you are a villain, but I still love you. Because when she says, like, she cups Rachel's face on that stair, like, she backs her kind of down the stairs.
Yeah.
And then, like, because they start off, like, on the same plane, and then she kind of backs her away, so she has to go down a step. And then she cups her face and says, you will never be enough. And the way that she says it is like, oh my God.
I think I, like, under my breath said, oh my God. Because I was, like, just so, like, yikes.
I got chills, like, in my whole body.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an amazing moment.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job. I also really liked the grandmother. Like, I felt like I was like, oh, like, this grandmother's gonna be a nice grandmother, and she's, like, actually gonna be on Nick's side, and then she gets you at the end. I'm like, oh, Amma.
I loved it. Well, yeah, and I think that's also how it is for Rachel, though.
Yeah.
And so I like that they set up that element of, like, because you don't see the behind the scenes of, like, when the grandmother finally is like, why are we even talking about this Rachel girl? Like, Nick's not serious about her.
Yeah.
I think the things that I missed were because in the book you get a little bit more of I missed, like, the gossipy parts of the wedding. Like, where Rachel got to sit with the aunts and they were kind of, like, gossipy about the church. And, like, Oliver being a little bit more, like I loved, I mean, like, in the movie, Eleanor kind of deploys him to get rid of Kitty Pong.
Yes.
But
God, she's the worst.
Yeah, she's horrible.
She's more annoying than I imagined.
Yeah.
Although I missed the scene where she comes in and just shows her nipples. Like, I thought that would have been
I was like, yeah, that kind of stuff is great.
That would have given it an R rating, though, so.
Yeah. One of my favorite things in general about a PG-13 movie is that you get to say the F word one time in a PG-13 movie, and I like movies that use it and, like, where they use it. Like, and in this one, like,
movie use it?
It did. Like, so when her friend, Peek Lynn.
Oh my God, my favorite character.
Yeah. Played by, so she's, did you see Ocean's 8?
No.
Okay, so she's also in Ocean's 8, and she's great in that too. Okay. She's definitely a highlight. But yeah, so when she's kind of like, hey,
does she have that same hair?
No, she has very long hair in that one.
Okay.
And, when Nick is like, oh, did you want to come to dinner? And she's like, no, I couldn't possibly impose. And he's like, oh, please do. We have plenty of food. And she goes, yeah, I'll fucking come to dinner.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I forgot. Yes.
And it's like, that's such a throwaway way to use your one F word. But, like, what an enjoyable way to use it.
Honestly, she was my favorite part of the entire movie. I wish that we could spend the entire time at her house with her weird family.
Yeah.
And, like, her weird brother who, like, is very creepy.
Yeah. One of the things I did miss, though, is I liked in the book that, like, Peek Lynn is also, she's extremely accomplished because she works for her dad. And so it's, like, she's, like, very much in the business. Whereas, like, in the movie, they almost made it seem like she doesn't work. And I was like, that's maybe unfair.
Yeah, although I also get the sense that her dad would have belittled anything she did, like, just to, like, in a teasing way.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, not belittle, that's not what I mean, but just been like, oh, Rachel, you're a professor of economics, she just works for the family biz.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? I don't know.
I loved that when Rachel is sad and staying at their house and the two little girls go around and bring her food.
Yes. Yes, so sweet.
I also liked a lot better. Because in the book, when she's, like, so depressed and whatever, I was kind of like, okay, so you found out your dad's still alive? Big deal. I mean, like, that would be, but I just didn't understand why it was such devastating news.
Well, honestly, like, I mean, like, definitely shocking.
Yes.
But not depressing.
Yeah, whereas, like, in the movie, I think they played it, like, because when the mom comes, she's like, I thought he was the one. And so it's more like her mourning the idea of the two of them being together, because she's like, I'm not about to come between him and his family. That's not fair. And so it's more her just being sad that she knows that she loves him and can't be with him. And so I was like, okay, I'm with you there. That works better for me.
Yeah.
And then especially, like, with the whole, like, I'm going to fly there and I'm going to meet this guy, and them being like, no, you can't. He's not your real dad. Like, I thought that was a lot neater in the movie than it was in the book.
Yeah, although I also will be really interested to see how the sequel goes.
Yes.
Because, like, I think that both dads are going to come into play.
I would think so.
I haven't read it yet. My coworker, well, really my friend now. I don't work anymore. And frankly, she's always a friend. But she told me that she read the second one in a day and liked it better than the first.
Okay. That's kind of what Grace said. Where she was like, yeah, I mean, I like blew through the second one. I liked it a lot. So. Very interested to know.
So, I mean, it makes me ready to pick up number 2. But, yeah, so, because, like, they said basically that he's dead now, right, in the movie. The jail dad in the book.
Maybe? I think it was more she was like, I just ran.
But I think they said, like, because she said, like, my dad died, like, when I was a baby. And they're like, well, what you didn't tell us was that your mom cheated on your dad before you were born.
No, I think the implication is that he's still alive. They were like, that's not true. Dad? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought in general this, the script was very, like, savvy. And, like, one of the things I enjoy seeing in, like, movie adaptations is, like, I like to see how they, like, economize a book. Where it's like, oh, yeah, like, I like that Amanda in the movie becomes, like, at first you think she's a friend, and then she, like...
Well, she plays, like, the Sophie role or whatever that
girl's name is. I thought that was really clever. And then, like, allowing Astrid to be at that. Like, because it's like, no, we don't need a Sophie. Like, that's, you know, one more person we have to pay. So...
Well, and it was also nice having Astrid have anybody to tell that her husband was cheating on her, because I don't know. I guess, like, my one complaint about the movie is that I didn't like Astrid's storyline as much.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that, like, I liked the twist in the book that, like, Michael wasn't actually cheating on her.
Oh, see, that didn't really work for me. I was like, eh. Like, I almost would have preferred that he was cheating. I mean, he still might not be cheating. Like, they could set that up for the next movie where she finds out.
They didn't really, like, set up any of their relationship at all. Like, to me, I, like, didn't really see it. Like, I was sort of like, okay, like, yeah, it's sad you're getting divorced, but, like, I just, like, didn't really see, like, what that would mean for them. Whereas in the book, we got so much background about, like, how much of, like, a fuck you it was to her family to marry him a little bit, and, like, how, like, sort of, like, all of the things that they did together to sort of, like, fight that, and then it sort of made sense why ultimately the marriage didn't work out.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, I was sort of like, why are you cheating on her, and, like, what's the problem? Like, I didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Like, I just sort of felt like he was lashing out at her for, like, not very good reasons. Basically, she would go shopping.
Yeah. Well, and I like in the book, it's very clearly said. Well, and, like, you see how in the book, it's like Astrid is playing, like, she, in Astrid's mind, she is very much trying to, like, make their marriage seem like an equal partnership, where she's like, he wanted to live somewhere he could afford, and I was fine with that, and I did that, and, like, but I also love the whole, like, I loved the scene where she was like, I realized it's not my job to make you feel like a man.
Yeah, I liked that too.
And I was like, yes, Astrid, yes. You put on those great earrings and you go to a party.
But I also think that in the book, I had more of an understanding of, like, what was special about Michael, or, like, why she loved Michael. Whereas, like, in this, I'm like, okay, like, great body.
Yeah, it did feel a lot more. It did feel a lot more devastating to find out he was cheating, because you did feel like they have, like a Cinderella romance as well. And so you're like, oh, this is so nice. And it's showing how, you know, how, like, a model for how Rachel and Nick can be too. And, you know, it's great. And then you find out he's like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
So I hope Astrid gets more. And, like, they kind of set it up with that little, like, end credit scene, which is literally just her glancing at a hot Asian man, who I assume will be Harry.
Got it. Which I like. Also, I guess, like, that I get part of that was the problem for me with this too, is that, like, I loved that storyline in the book, but they sort of, like, she doesn't confront him until the wedding, and so that, which is kind of the finale of the. I mean, we're so far in time that there isn't time for her and Harry to spend time together.
Yeah, and I also think, like, what's devastating, too, in the books is that, like, she's like, okay, a lot of people have affairs, like, I'll just get over it, you know.
I hate that.
I also wanted Fiona, Eddie's wife, to have her moment to shine.
Eddie's also just not nearly as shitty as he is in the book, though.
No.
I mean, he's definitely annoying, but, like, we don't get the vibe that he's abusive like he is in the book. Like, he just seems annoying and, like, you know, very obsessed. We also, the other character who in neither the book nor the movie do we get much of is Alistair, or whatever his name is. Is that his name?
He's the one
who, the other brother who's dating Kitty Pong.
Yeah. He makes like a joke about Rachel having small boobs, and I was like, hey, that is a different Alistair that is in the books.
I'm glad that they cut the dogfighting scene. I was like, oh fuck, when they went on to the bachelor party, because they made like an allusion to it.
Yeah, that's what he wanted.
He's like, this isn't dogfighting. We're going to something better, and we're doing
we're gonna party on a barge. Yeah,
in international
which I thought was
waters.
Great.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, I also thought I loved how Colin and Araminta, is that how you say her name?
Araminta?
Yeah, I loved how they were portrayed. Like, that's exactly how I wanted them to be from the books. Just like they were just like how they greeted them at the airport. I was like, what precious angels. And that whole scene of them eating, in like a Jeep Wrangler. Yeah, like just adorable.
Yeah. Oh, all of the food scenes.
Which I also, like, one of the things, I loved all of that and, like, was glad that I ate before I went to the movies. But I also think what's so great about that scene in particular and all the food scenes is that it's all traditional Asian food, which I think in, like, Western culture is often regarded as, like, oh, that food is, like, smelly or, like, different from, like, cuisine or whatever. And I thought it was, like,
they're not showing American Chinese food.
Right. I thought it was so great that it was like basically food porn of like Asian food, and it was showing like how, you know, like that it's like delicious and they're getting like Michelin stars. And so I thought that was like, it's such a simple scene, and we've seen scenes like that 100 times with any kind of other cuisine, but I thought it was like really impactful that it's like Asian food that sometimes can be a little bit derided by Western cultures. Like, oh, it's like weird.
And it looked great.
It did look great. I wanted
when they were making the dumplings in the mom's house, I was like, holy crap. Like,
I wanted dumplings so
I'm
bad.
Starving.
The other thing, I don't think we talked about this when we talked about the book, but one of the things I also think is really interesting is how Rachel and her mom are like, in American society, they are like what we talk about when we talk about like the American dream. And, like, what kind of, like, immigration we want. Like, her mom, like...
Don't say what kind of immigration we want. Basically, like, what kind of Donald Trump wants.
Well, but not even really... I mean, because, like, nobody wants... I mean, I don't know. But, like, everybody wants, like, people to thrive. I think, like, nobody wants people to immigrate to America and not thrive.
Right.
Like, that's, like, the idea is that... like when immigration is working well, that's what can happen, is that she could come here like fleeing an abusive husband and like find the success without losing her culture and like raise a daughter who becomes and like still like knows her language, like still knows Mandarin Chinese, but like is a professor. So I think it's like the idea, like she is like the beacon that we would hold up of like, look at like how great immigration is. Whereas like, but then because it's not a movie about America, it's like, you're never going to be enough. You're basically trash. And it's like, oh, interesting.
Right. Well, but also like, yeah, I mean, although pretty much anyone is trash unless you're like, Amanda. So,
which that whole scene, like I thought the scene where Rachel and Amanda are getting massages was really well done, and I was like, oh, Amanda, you are doing it. I don't like you, but I respect you for your methods. Ugh. But I thought that the scene between Colin and Nick was a little heavy-handed, especially like when they were like cutting between the two. I was like, okay, I get it.
No, yeah, yeah, that whole scene, I'm like, so you're going to a bachelor party and you're carrying around that ring, Nick? Like,
I never even thought about that.
I mean,
he's probably just carrying it around completely. I mean, yeah, that was dumb. He's like,
Rachel's not going to be there.
It. Yeah.
Definitely put it in a safe.
I mean, that being said, though, I did really enjoy, like, I love a good depiction of, like, a sweet male friendship. And I thought that Colin and Nick had a very sweet friendship.
I think Colin, though, like, brought not much to the table.
He didn't. He was very underwritten. Like, I liked in the books, we have that whole element, like he has anxiety, and, like, Nick helps him, and that's all sweet, but...
Yeah.
He was basically there to be like, bruh, I support you, but it's going to be an uphill battle, man.
Yeah. Well, I also was kind of happy not to have the whole, like, Araminta, like, hurt in her head, like, just focusing on Astrid during her wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't like that in the book. I was like, it just didn't, like, line up.
Petty.
Well, it didn't line up to me either with, like, how Araminta had been presented in the earlier parts of the book.
Yeah, like, where she's like very nice and...
Yeah.
And also because, like, she doesn't... We have access to the fact that Astrid's going through a kind of a hard time, but she doesn't. And so it's like... Right. So in our eyes, it's like, hey, give her a break. Like, why don't you focus on your wedding day?
Maybe she didn't have time to change.
Yeah. Well, but in this, it's like... We get that great dance number. And I was like, oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. They're like, like champion swing dancers. Yeah, loved it.
I loved all the music in the movie too.
I thought the music was great. Especially like they had a Chinese, or I think I heard somewhere that a lot of the songs are like Chinese versions of American songs, but they also might just be
that Yellow Coldplay
They did
song.
Yellow. They did like a couple of them where I was like, hell yeah. Very fun.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much I liked the proposal scene. Did you not like
on the
it?
plane?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you meant the first
Yellow.
Proposal scene. I'm
no,
boring.
Stupid. I was like, know how to read the room, Nick. You did it wrong.
I know, it's but she's so depressed and like moody. I'm like, why now?
It's really going for broke there. But yeah, I mean, loved it. I love it because literally when they were going to the airport, I was like, oh my God, are we going to be treated to an airport chase? I have not seen an airport chase in so long. And I love too that they intermixed him like trying to help people in other aisles. Like I thought that was very endearing. He's like, I'm going to, get, and like I loved the Asian woman behind Constance Wu who was like, oh,
I know.
And even, I don't know why, I think I turned on my crime show watching hat where I just didn't put together at all that Eleanor probably gave him the ring when she went to go see him. And so when he opened that and that emerald was there, I was like, oh my God. I literally out loud went, shut the fuck up. And the woman next to me was like, hey.
Yeah, very fun.
Yeah, loved that. All set to like an Asian language version of Yellow, which I was like, I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, it was great. I really liked that I really liked the whole setup from the beginning of the movie that like Rachel knew game theory. Mm-hmm. And then she like plays that game of Mahjong with Eleanor. Yeah. Like, I felt like that was such a, like, it was clean. Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Well, and it's also,
like I felt like we got closure between them.
Yeah, and I also like the idea, too, of, like, them bringing back that element of, like, what she taught her students and saying, like, we lose in poker or, like, in risk situations because we're afraid of, like, losing what we care about. And so it's like you see how that is now playing out. Like it becomes a broader theme, which I was like, clever, nice. I like it.
Yeah. I also, after the Mahjong scene, And she gets up and, like, joins her mom. Like, oh
I know. God. And the mom's like, bitch, you have not been nice to my daughter?
Yeah, and it's, like, basically, like, you think I'm trash, but, like...
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah. And I'm a true American.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So enjoyable.
One wish that I had for... Actually, okay. One thing I loved about this movie is that Oliver and Peaklin paired up.
Oh, yes.
To make her over. And I'm like,
yes.
Oh, all I wanted was that scene to be much longer.
Yes.
I wanted many more dresses.
Yeah, I liked the idea too, though, that it was just about clothes and them getting her the right kind of clothes, because it does annoy me in rom-coms when they act like if they had tried to sell us on the idea that Constance Wu wasn't drop-dead gorgeous, I would have been like, oh, yeah. Here. Because I recently, I mean, not that there was no makeover involved, but I don't know why, but the two comedies I have seen with Mila Kunis in them, that I can think, like Sisters, or not Sisters, Bad Moms, and I just saw The Spy Who Dumped Me not that long ago.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
I don't know why comedies try to sell us on the idea that Mila Kunis isn't, like, stone cold hot. But they were like...
Mila Kunis is Brendan's number one.
Yeah, like,
she's my David Duchovny.
Yeah, she's so many people's number one. But I like that in this it was mostly like, yeah, Rachel doesn't know how to dress for this because she didn't grow up in, like, Singapore aristocracy, which which makes sense. So it's not like a Princess Diaries makeover situation. It's like, no, we need to do the appropriate dress. And I liked the Cinderella-y aspects that they kind of brought in.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But also I just love Peaklin, and I wanted her in every scene that I could have her.
Yeah, so. She's great. She was very fun.
And especially teaming her up with Oliver, who was all that I wanted him to be. So
yes, exactly. I was like, thank God.
I hear Brendan rattling a spoon. Brendan. Stop. I can hear your spoon rattling. Can you close your door?
Poor Brendan.
I know. He's just trying to have an afternoon ice cream, and I'm like, yelling at him.
Let me see if I have any other notes.
It's become an inside joke in my family that after every meal, one of my sisters would be like, anyone want ice cream? Because Brendan would always say that, and I would be like, no, we're not having ice cream. Or they'll be like, oh, anyone in the mood for a chocolate shake? So, God love him. Let's see. I haven't referred to my notes once, but I did take some, so let's see if there's anything I missed. No, I know everything. I've said everything that I wrote down. Except that I want to re-highlight how beautiful Nick is. I loved your Instagram story this morning.
Thank you. He was shirtless a lot. I was like, great. That's great.
So I guess here's the real question. Who do you want to be James Bond?
Oh, I mean Idris.
So you'd still pick Idris?
Henry Golding has to wait his turn.
He is kind of young.
Yeah, he's only 30. Yeah. So it's like, I mean,
Idris
has been like clawing his way and being overlooked as sexiest man alive for quite some time. And
yeah, I think also you want your James Bond to have been around the block.
Yeah, I mean, it is compelling. Yeah, I mean, the idea of having like a young Bond is like a little compelling. But also, like, I mean, I don't know.
Because, like, Pierce was still probably in his, like, late 30s when he was Bond, right?
Yes. Maybe. I have no idea.
Who effing knows? Daniel Craig is definitely an old Bond.
He's aged, yeah. I mean, he's been playing James Bond for like 10 years.
I mean, which is not to say, I mean, he still looks great. Yeah, but like, that he's not...
he keeps trying to get out of that. He didn't even want to do the last one. He was like, I think I'm done. And they were like, but we've got this contract.
Daniel. Yeah, I mean... gosh, I feel like I would probably pick Idris too.
Yeah, but before, like I do want Henry Golding to be like the leading man in more movies, and I think it was great because I think I was listening to Awards Chatter and they were talking about that. I mean, a lot of the problem is like in order to have someone starring in like a major blockbuster, a lot of times they're like, well, like what have they been in? Like we're not going to just cast a nobody. And so this movie is going to be like a great, I mean, it's great on its own and like for what it does, but it's also going to, I think, like going to open a lot of doors for like all of the actors that were in it.
We have not seen the last of him, I'm pretty convinced.
No, he's going to be in a movie with Blake Lively. Really? Later this year. Yeah, so I think we're about to see a lot of him.
Oh, yeah. Is it that weird like Blake Lively one where it's like maybe like with a Gone Girl-esque vibe?
Yeah.
You know what movie I also really want to see is the one about the teenager who like goes missing and her dad. It's like all through social media.
Yeah, which that looks interesting, but it also looks like it could get a little tiresome. Like the fact that it's all through like the computer.
It definitely might, but I'm definitely interested.
Yeah. Like, I just think that could end up being one of those things that's like the cleverness of the idea might get in the way of how good the movie is.
Could be. Yeah, I really want to see that Blake Lively movie, though. It looks great.
It looks fun.
Yeah.
Also, the guy who directed it, like, he directed also, like, Bridesmaids, which I'm like, seems like a change for you, but I love him.
Seems like a change in mood. I will say this might be controversial. Not the biggest Anna Kendrick fan.
I like her. I think that sometimes like her shtick can get a little tiresome. I think only because that shtick is like what we kind of expect women to be now, because it's like, yeah, this is what we like. Because like I think it's like that brand of like I'm quirky and adorable and like that whole thing. I'm like, okay,
and really nice. Yeah, it's just a little earnest for me. I'd like to see. Has she been a villain yet in anything?
I don't know. I mean, she wasn't necessarily like the heroine of Up in the Air. And she plays Jessica in Twilight, so which is like not she's a definite highlight.
Is Up in the Air that George Clooney movie that I thought he was a pilot? Like
deeply sad.
Okay. I feel like now that she maybe has been a villain before, and I'm like, you know,
not thinking of it.
Yeah, because I feel like I can see her being like mean.
Yeah. I mean, she's like she's like not 100% nice in Pitch Perfect. She's like kind of mean, but like in a way that you still like her.
I don't know. Well, Anna Kendrick roles you completely forgot. I'm sure Jessica and Twilight is going to be on here. Yeah, Twilight. Up in the Air. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. 50-50. What to expect when you're expecting? What?
I said, I forgot she was in 50-50.
Yeah, she's his therapist, I guess. I've seen that movie. Is that a romantic comedy?
No.
Okay, well, you can't add it to my list then. All right, nothing that screams she was a villain to me.
But. Villain, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. She like kind of creeps me out because I think she a little bit reminds me of like a child.
It's definitely shocking to me that she's in her 30s. Like, no, Doesn't seem like you should be that old.
Like, don't get me wrong, I don't hate her or anything, but I guess I just don't, like, she's fine.
She doesn't do it for you. And
I think that there are a lot of people who, like, have very strong positive feelings towards her, and I just don't share them.
Okay, that's fair. It's like, she's not, like, the reason you would go see a movie.
Definitely not.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't know.
I read her book. It's fine. It's good.
Oh, yeah, I would never read that. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I would. I would read Bossy Pants.
I love Bossy. You should read Bossy Pants. I love Bossy Pants. It's great. It's probably her. That one's really good. And like Lena Dunham's is good, but it's like kind of a bummer because it's like sad to know that like she had very low self-confidence.
Yeah, Lena Dunham, like in general, everything I've read of hers has been like good, but like also very depressing.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I started to feel in Girls, where like with Hannah's character, where it was like, okay, that this isn't funny to me because it bums me out that you think you deserve to be treated this way.
Yeah, I have not gotten back to season 4. I have literally not watched an episode of TV since I've been back in Boston.
Just a busy bee.
I've been really busy. Yeah. I was going to say something. Oh, I read one article of Lena Dunham, not an article. I don't know.
Essay?
A piece that she wrote for the New Yorker, I think, that was about like basically her becoming obsessed with her therapist and like wanting to engage with her in a way that was like not professional, basically. Like, shouldn't have a crush on her, but like she just wanted to like be her friend, kind of, or like have their lives somehow connected. And so she ended up, I think, somehow reaching out to her daughter, maybe the therapist's daughter, who was her age. I don't know. I just remember it bummed me out.
Yeah.
I guess that's how I feel sometimes with Lena Dunham, where I'm just like, stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, you're so self-aware. Like, use it, girl. Yeah. Don't pull that trigger.
Yeah, I agree.
But also, I've been kind of interested. I'm probably going to get hate mail for this. From our thousands of fans. I've been kind of interested in maybe getting a hairless cat recently.
No. Don't get one of those. I just don't think that you can like pet it.
You can pet it. It's just like skin.
I think it's all wrinkly and...
Yeah, honestly, like...
Brendan is not going to want a hairless cat.
Well, Brendan's the one who's keeping me from having a hair full cat. So that's like maybe my tactic is that I'm going to say, fine, we can get a hairless cat. And then he's going to be like, yuck, we can get a real cat.
Is he allergic to cats?
Yes. Not seriously though. Like, I mean, it's like an average. He would definitely, if we had a cat in our house, he would definitely grow accustomed to it and not need to take Claritin every day after like 4 months.
Okay, well then he'll be fine.
That's happened to my dad when we got a cat. Yeah, I think he'd be really fine. I mean, we can't get a cat for the next 3 years anyway, but
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also let's bring it back around to my girl RBG. The idea of going to law school, treating or like taking care of your sick husband who is dying of cancer and also doing his law school work, and then also raising your 1-year-old. Like, I'm like, I cannot take care of a hairless cat at this point in my life.
Wait, her husband died? Her husband didn't die when she was in law school.
No, he didn't. He survived.
Oh, okay.
But he had cancer and lived.
Wow.
But, like, he was really, really sick. Like,
and he was really young, too.
Yeah. He was, like, in his 20s.
Oh, my God.
And so he couldn't go to class. And so she would basically, like, organize his notes and type them up for him. for like basically his friends would like write notes for him. She would like organize them, like do outlines for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She basically like did law school for 2 and raised their 1-year-old.
Jesus.
I know. I can't even, consider a careless cat at this stage of my life. So
I mean, I can't even get it together. Like, I was on my way home from work today, and I was like, I should go to the grocery store. Nah.
Hey, right now, at this moment, I have a crock pot full of stew.
There's, like, a big bang outside of my room.
It was someone clapping for me that I had stew.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. The reality is that when I have literally nothing to do, I can get it together enough. But once school starts, I'm like, I don't know when I'm going to have time to be searing these beef chunks to put them in the crock pot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anyway. Okay, well, everyone should go see Crazy Rich Asians if you haven't already. Yes, I think it's weird you're listening to this podcast if you haven't seen it yet.
Also, I mean, if you want to like go more in depth about, like, if you're like, oh my God, I loved listening to them talk about it so much. Okay, they're doing so much bang. They're clearly trying to put together the entertainment center that we got, which like.
It's going on within your house right now.
Yeah.
Not banging. Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, Pop Culture Happy Hour has a really fun episode about Crazy Rich Asians, which also is one of my favorite podcasts about like pop culture stuff. It's usually only like 20 minutes long, and it's an NPR podcast, so it's very fun.
Unlike ours, which is always an hour and 15 minutes long.
Yeah, but whatever. But yeah, thanks for listening. Go see the movie. If you go see it again, unless you have Movie Pass, in which case you can't, unless you want to pay for it.
Unless you want to pay, yeah. Let us know what you thought of it. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.